Venezuela. They don't get subsidies anymore, so they're in a lot of trouble. And the people in charge, they don't know how to fix it. So they have to get new people in charge. That's what has
And the
to happen.
relationship we have with Venezuela has been, I think you could almost say, incredible. It's been really good. It's been good for Venezuela, and it's been good for us. And I congratulate the Venezuelan baseball team, because that was a big win, and I guess they play another game tonight in the finals. And I said a lot of good things have happened to Venezuela lately. This is the first time they've ever been in the finals, and it was pretty exciting. Yeah.
Iran is just a military operation to you. But do you not have a day after plan? And if so, what is your day after plan for Iran?
Well, we have a lot. Look, if we left right now, it would take 10 years for them to rebuild. But we're not ready to leave yet. But we'll be leaving in the near future. We'll be leaving in pretty much the very near future. But right now, they've been decimated from every standpoint. And again, we've had great support from countries in the Middle East, great support. But we've had no support from, essentially, no support from NATO.
What about your relationship with London? Has it been damaged by the fact that Keir Starmer isn't supporting you in this war? And has your opinion of Keir Starmer changed because of this?
Well, he hasn't been supportive, and I think it's a big mistake. You know, they make a lot of money on trade with the United States. I went out of my way, as you know, they couldn't make a deal with Biden because they had no real administration to make a deal, Biden. But we made a deal. We made a good deal for them, and frankly, probably wasn't appreciated. I do look forward to seeing the king. He's going to be coming, as you know, very shortly. But no, I was disappointed because Keir was willing to send 2 aircraft carriers after we won, because essentially there's no threat for the aircraft carriers right now. And I said, no, we want things sent before the war, not after the war is won. So, yeah, I'm disappointed with Keir. I like him. I think he's a nice man, but I'm disappointed. You see that man right there? You know who that is?
Churchill.
That's the late, great Winston Churchill. And Barack Hussein Obama did not want his bust in this office. Did you know that? And Barack Hussein Obama sent that bust back to England. They didn't want it. And when I came in, I was asked if I wanted it. I said, absolutely, I want it. And I put it right there, Winston Churchill. And, you know, unfortunately, Keir is not Winston Churchill.
Do you have
No, hold it.
Just could I
Hold it.
just make a number of points? First of all, I think, notwithstanding what has happened, the transatlantic relationship between Europe and the US is very, very important on a number of fronts. And I think we've had issues over the last year or two, but we settled them. And I think many of these leaders engaged with you, particularly on trade initially. Remember all the fuss last year, but we got a landing zone between Europe and the US, and I think we can get a landing zone again. And I think I just met with Keir Starmer last week. The British-Irish relationship is a very important one. Churchill was a great wartime leader, although in Ireland there was kind of a different perspective in terms of during our own war of independence and so on. He created his own bit of difficulties for us. But that said, he was a great wartime hero. Keir Starmer has done a lot to reset the Irish-British relationship. I just want to put that on the record. But I do believe that he's a very earnest, sound person who I think you have a capacity to get on with, and you've got on with him before. And you've got on with other European leaders as well.
Sure.
And I think you have that capacity again. And I think everyone exists. I mean, you cannot have a rogue state with a nuclear weapon or the capacity for a nuclear weapon. Iran was a sponsor of terrorism. We sanctioned Iran. All European countries did, as a and the IRGC in particular as a terrorist organization. They sponsored Hamas. They sponsored Hezbollah, the Houthis. They created mayhem, a most maligned force in the Middle East. The Irish position has always been, ultimately, can we resolve this? Can we get peace? And obviously there's preconditions before you get to that situation. We had our own conflict, which went on for 30 years, and we learned a lot from that in terms of how to try and bring about peace. And I think I've listened to you in terms of, you're correct. I mean, our hearts go to the Iranian people who have been repressed and suppressed for so many years. culminating in that savage murder of thousands and thousands of Iranians some months ago. And no one was in a position to do anything about that. I think, and likewise with Ukraine, I mean, the Russians did invade Ukraine, have attacked civilian infrastructure and so on like that. And for the people of Ukraine who just want peace and an opportunity to live, I think we have to continue to work to see, can we bring peace, different regime to Iran where Iranians can live in peace again, and the people in the Middle East can live in peace, and you're doing your bit there in terms of the work in Gaza and so on like that. And I think that's what we want, is a peaceful resolution of conflict. That's where we come from as a small nation. Right. We've been peacekeepers all our lives. And we're the longest serving nation in terms of provision of peacekeeping forces in the world, as it turns out. But we think ultimately all conflicts come to an end, and I think we have to try and work towards that end. And I'm sure European leaders and the US administration will engage, and hopefully we can get a landing zone somewhere.
I mean, the only thing, and I agree with everything you said, but we helped with Ukraine.
Yes. Yeah.
And they don't help with Iran. And they all acknowledge that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. You yourself say, these are horrendous people. These are the worst people, and going back to Hitler, right? Going back to Hitler, these are the worst people. That's a long time ago. And there's been nothing close. Every problem, so many deaths, 90% of the people that got blown up by landmines, they loved them. Soleimani, we killed him. If we didn't, it might be a different story, because he was a horrible person, but he was a very powerful person and leader, smart. But we killed him. If we didn't, I think you'd have it. I did. But I think it would have maybe a different situation. It wouldn't have been so easy as it has been, because it has been very easy. It's all of their military is there, but you can always have somebody drop a mine in the water. It's like terrorism.
Yep.
And then you have the people that own the billion-dollar ship saying, well, let's not move that ship yet because we want. So we thought that Europe would help that, because they do have some minesweepers. But it's amazing that, they all said, what a great job. They would call me congratulating us on the great job we did with respect to Iran, and we knocked the hell out of them. They're no longer the bully of the Middle East. They were known as the bully of the Middle East, and they're not the bully anymore. But you would have thought they would have said, we'd love to send a couple of minesweepers. It's not a big deal. It doesn't cost very much money. But they didn't do that. So, I think it's very unfair to the United States. Not to me, but to the United States. Go ahead, please.
Keir Starmer isn't making...
She's a fantastic reporter, by the way. Go ahead.
Thank you. The Prime Minister isn't making the case to the British public as to why he should be supporting you. Could you do that now, talk to the UK and to GB News viewers about why it's in their interest that we help you?
Well, because we have a tremendous long-term relationship with the UK. I mean, people would say it's the best. I don't want to get into that, but we've had, it was the longest, the oldest, should be the best. Always was the best until Keir came along, and I like him. He's a nice man. He says everything beautiful. He's a very nice man with a beautiful family. Everything's perfect, but he doesn't produce. And I think it's very inexpensive. I just said, you don't have to send me aircraft carriers. Send me a couple of minesweepers. We don't need your aircraft carriers. But even the aircraft carriers, he would only send them after we essentially won. I mean, he's sending them when there are no planes left. When the missiles are down to 8%, they have like 8% of the missiles. The rest we demolish the missiles, and the factories, largely the factories are going even as we speak. They just hit another factory. They have a lot of missile factories. They have a lot of drone factories, and so he's wants to send them when we don't need them. But we'd like to have minesweepers, because just in case. We don't know that there are any mines down, because we wiped out, I think, 24. They actually have to think of this for a country. They have 24 boats that do nothing but put mines in the water. This doesn't sound like a great country. This doesn't sound like a friendly country. But we killed all of those boats. They're at the bottom of the sea. So we don't even know if there are any mines there. But if there are, we'd like to have. a little help in finding them. Probably most importantly.
Would you like a change of Prime Minister? Do you have confidence in Keir Starmer? Would you prefer to deal
Well,
with
it's not for
somebody
me.
else before?
It's really for the people of the UK to have confidence.
Of course,
in it.
but